Today, though, I want to consider what really is the main topic of Genesis 1, and it's not so much the creation, though that is obviously a huge point that's being made in the bulk of the material that is talking about the creation. But really, even more than that is the Creator, the one doing the creating. As we consider together, I am reminded of when our oldest child, was in his early 20s, was 3 or 4 years old. Thomas the Train was very popular in our household. On television, in the toy basket, the toy box, and we even got the track you can buy and lay out the whole thing and make it look like the village there on the TV show. And it would take up half the living room. We were walking. You think it hurts to step on Legos? Try stepping on a train. So that was a big thing. And we learned somehow, Nancy and I did, that Thomas the Train was going to be in Chattanooga. Now, we were living in the Prattville-Millbrook area north of Montgomery, so it was a fair trip, but it was doable. And we were ready for a getaway anyway. So we thought, let's go to Chattanooga. So off we go. Now, a year later, he came to Calera, which is Birmingham area. But anyway, so that seemed to be the closest he was going to get at the time was Chattanooga. So we go to Chattanooga, and I want you to know we did not stay in Motel 6. We stayed in the Chattanooga Choo Choo downtown. And so it was a getaway for us, the three of us. And when we were, I can't remember if it was during the reservation process on the phone or whether it was in checking in, but I came to learn that they have actual train cars that have been made into hotel rooms, and that's an option. I said, well, how much more are they? And it wasn't much more. I said, well, let's do that. So here we are in the Chattanooga Choo Choo, living in a train car, it's outfitted as a nice hotel room, and Pierce just thought that was great. Now, he didn't know anything about Thomas being in Chattanooga. We were going to try to see how long we could go without him knowing, so that it would be at least somewhat of a surprise. But you can't control everything, and so we were not sure when he would figure it out, but that was the plan. So, and here we are, giving him every clue in the book. We're staying in a train car, but we never mentioned it. And so the next day we go to the Chattanooga train yard, or whatever it was, and Thomas the Train is set up there, and we're walking up from the parking lot, and some other people are starting to do the same thing we're doing. And the Thomas the Train engine was a ways off. He wasn't obvious, like he was waiting in the wings, back up the track a little bit. And so Pierce did not see him. And so, and then he started coming our way about the time for the thing to start. And he was about as far as from me to the back of the sanctuary, and Pierce still had not seen him. And so he was turned with his back toward him, looking at us, and we were talking, and so we made sure we kept talking. And I thought, I wonder how far we can go with this thing. And he got about from me to about halfway up the pews there. And this is a big, full-size train engine. And fully made out with that blue color, Thomas the Train, and the big smiley, the big face on the front, and the eyes. And it was puffing smoke and everything. And finally, I had to see, there was a lot of noise going all around, so we didn't really hear it as much to turn around. Finally, he said, Pierce, turn around. And he turns around. He doesn't even know why we're there. We're just doing some kind of educational training thing. And so he turns around and goes, Thomas, turn us! I mean, it was just precious. I wish we had videoed it. We probably did, I don't know. But anyway, I'm remembering it in my mind. Thomas, he turns to us, because it's Thomas the Train. Oh, wow, look at that. And so we just had a big day, big time. But I want you to know, now later he got to see one of those characters, the Sir Topham Hatt. Anybody ever heard of Sir Topham Hatt? Yeah. He's the benevolent grandfatherly figure. He looks like he came off of the community chest of the game of Monopoly. He always wears a tuxedo and a top hat. But anyway, so he was a character walking around, and he got to get a hug from him. But in that moment, when he turned around and saw Thomas, he was awestruck. Awestruck. Now, maybe he's awe-stricken, I'm not sure. But he was one of the two. Let's just say awestruck. And I want you to know that's how we are when we behold not just Thomas the Train, but the Lord God who made everything. The God of all creation. Something made all this stuff. And we have a sneaking suspicion that it didn't make itself, that it's not eternal in and of itself in terms of material, that somehow it had a beginning and something or someone made all this stuff. It's a mystery, yes. God is a mystery to us, but He has revealed much information as well as His own presence to us. And we see in the words of our scripture readings, especially the first few verses, that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And we are awe-stricken as we behold the God of all creation. I mean, creation is pretty amazing. Some people say, why suffering? We could also say, why beauty? Why is there such a thing as beauty in the world? It could function without it. Why flowers and sunsets? Creation is amazing. The beauty of the chirping birds. I remember the first Easter morning I experienced after my young adult conversion or faith update. This was 1984, and that following Easter, I mean, the birds chirping was sweeter, and it was just for me. The sunrise was more brilliant and colorful, and it was just for me. And I was singing in my mind with Sandy Patty, did the birds sing, did the grass sing, or did the earth rejoice to see you again, to feel you again? Yes, I was awestricken. And I beheld, in that case, the resurrection of Christ, but also that points even beyond it to the God of all creation. And so, the author of Genesis, both human and divine, wants us to have a sense of catching our breath and of being awestricken at the God of all creation. Now, as we read those words, in the beginning, God, what we see is that a few things there. In the beginning, God created. One is that the Hebrews wanted to make the clear point that their God was the God. There were many tribal deities in the broader expanse of that part of the world, and they all had their own little gods and goddesses. But the Hebrews wanted folks to know this God of ours is the God. He made everything. So it's a way of saying that, of expanding their God to be everyone's God, to be the God of all creation. It's also a way, obviously, of explaining how things came to exist. That God created everything. Finally, with that word beginning, it's also suggesting to us that things did have a beginning, or it's stating that clearly, but it's suggesting and implying in that things also have an ending. When you say, now, at the beginning, we did so-and-so, that implies that you went through a process and then there was an end. Because at the beginning of all that, we did this, and so there's an ending too, either that has already happened in that story that you're telling, or in the case of creation, that's going to happen. It's not just some endless loop. It's more like a straight line. Sometimes it seems a bit curvy and a bit wavy, but it's a line. We're moving forward from a beginning to an ending. And so it suggests that the same God who is in control of the beginning will also draw things to a close. And it also suggests that the ending stuff is going to be similar to the beginning stuff. We have an example of how He operates. When God creates something out of nothing, when He creates all that is, this is the way He tends to do it. Now, He's not locked in. He can do whatever He wants, but He's showing His hand a little bit so that we can know a little something about what's coming when everything draws to a close, what the new creation is going to be like. You know, Mark Twain said, if heaven is just sitting on a cloud playing a harp, I'm not sure I want to go. Well, Mark Twain, rest assured, it's going to be a whole lot more than that. And by judging by the first creation, the new creation, the new heavens and the new earth are going to be fantastic. They're probably going to be physical as well as spiritual. And so we can look forward, we can know there was a beginning, there's going to be an end, and in the new creation, it will probably be similar to how He did it the first time. Not exactly, and better, but probably similar. It kind of takes away a little bit of the mystery of that, just a little bit. Now, let's look at the points we see there. What does this passage say, not just about the heavens and the earth, but about the God who made them? Well, 3 statements. And as I looked at this after it was printed up and we had it in the bulletin, I thought, well, that sounds kind of stuffy. God is self-sufficient. If we're going to take the childlike wonder from the Thomas Trip Day, we would say it more like, God can do stuff all by Himself. God is self-sufficient. God can do stuff all by Himself. God is self-existent is the first point. God is self-existent. God exists all by Himself. In the beginning, God. And then Exodus 3, I am who I am. God is self-existent. Everything else in Genesis 1 required another entity to create it, except God. God is self-existent. Now, automatically, we join those children's questions that say, well, where'd God come from? And we just don't know. After a while, when you're looking in the distance, you just can't see any further. And the further you try to look, the less you can make out. So we just don't know. God didn't reveal everything to us. And that's okay. We apparently don't need to know where God came from. But we do know that God is self-existent. Notice those 2 little circles on your outline. In one of those circles, you could write the word God. In the other circle, you could write the phrase, all else. Or if you can fit it in there, everything else. One circle is God, the other is everything else. All else. That means the world, the earth, the heavens are not self-existent. God made us, but also that God is not part and parcel of this world. All pagan-esque religions and thought processes claim or come out of the idea that God is somehow earthbound or universe-bound. He's part and parcel of the stuff of creation. We see something amazing, we say, my goodness, look at that, let's worship that thing. No, God made that thing. So God is transcendent, as you see there. He is transcendent. And because God is transcendent, because He's beyond the confines of the universe, therefore we can have transcendent experiences with Him. Our experience of life isn't confined to the workaday world, to the highs and lows of life. We are in touch with the living God who made everything. He's transcendent, and He inspires us from where He is. Now, it's also true that God is immanent. That is, He's nearby. He's as close as our next breath. Otherwise, He would feel cold and distant to us if He was only transcendent. But listen, He is essentially, primarily transcendent. He chooses to also be immanent or near or within creation. We are theists as opposed to being deists. He didn't just wind it up like a clock and let it go. He is part of creation, and he acts in our lives. But he does so because he chooses to. He is not of the stuff of creation. He transcends creation. He did the creating. So he's transcendent, essentially. And because of that, he can be holy and is holy. The meaning of